Hello, a very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
It's a Friday morning, just to remind you. I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome.
And it's good to be here again. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
People may need to be reminded.
You have to be that loud in their ears?
Yes, I mean,
take it easy.
It's okay to just remind, just in case.
Oh, wow.
You know, sometimes you lose sight of the fact that it's a particular day of the week. It happens. Just as, you know, the president is also reminding the police to do their job the way they ought to do it, professionally. You understand? So it's always good to remind people sometimes. And, you know, that...
Even though there are other ways, better ways.
Yes, like texting it or putting it on Facebook or something.
Like making available what they need to be professional?
Well, that's what I'm talking about, what the president said. You can talk your own.
Okay, go ahead.
So the president,
that's why we missed you anyway.
Okay, the president, you know, said, you know, the police should place premium on professionalism in carrying out their duties. And that is, you know, what is expected. It's an issue I have always contended. Yeah. The primary function of the police is to prevent crime. Okay, but is the police positioned to do that? Let me look at some of the things that the president said in that speech that you can also find, by the way, on channelstv.com, our website. It says, as you are aware, this administration came to office determined to make impact in three main areas: security, building a sustainable economy, and fight against corruption. Now, on security, he talked about, in a world, I quote, where insecurity is constantly evolving, law enforcement responses have to equally evolve, not just to keep up, but to stay ahead. Now, the question that many people have been asking about this is, so how well have we positioned or equipped the police, you know, just as Bukola has also said, to do just that? My primary concern, guys, has always been the welfare of the police. First of all, keep them mentally. I mean, I know that whatever happens to me, I'm good. My family is good, my children are secure and all of that. So the welfare packages is one thing. And it only brings to mind for me the Police Act of 2020. Wait a minute, what's happened to that one?
Well, you're going to have to answer the question yourself, Ayo. You're going to have to answer the question yourself.
Oh, well, I know you don't have the answer, I'm just saying. What happened to it? Because, I mean, that's one of the things a number of people will be wondering. So, okay, that law has been put out. So what do we do with it? Why do we have a law if you can't implement it? I don't know.
Well, you've said much of, you know, the crux of the matter. It's about positioning the police better to be able to function in a situation where, you know, the Police Service Commission and the Inspector General of Police, you know, were at one time at the point of this administration in court over whose exclusive preserve it was to recruit. You know, it seems to me that it's a nation that has triumphed with politics over its purpose. You know, such resources being wasted where the police, you know, is not well equipped, where, you know, there's no funding. At a point they were on rumors that the police were going to go on strike. These are some of the issues that we should look into. What is the state of our police barracks in 2022? Should we go there?
Do we have to even remind ourselves of that documentary?
So these are some of the issues. These are some of the issues that we should look into if we're going to task the police on professionalism. You know, the primary duty of the police, as you said, is to maintain law and order. But we've seen that we have had to have the military, you know, come to help in that regard in many parts of the country. So these are the issues.
It's a lot of things to chew, especially now that the elections are building up, Chamberlain. Yeah. The elections are building up. And we're going to deploy police to Ekiti. We have already deployed police to Ekiti. We will deploy, you know, police to Osun.
Well, yeah. Osun. Okay.
So those ones are coming. And then we will deploy the same police all over the nation for the general elections of 2023. If the president is reminding the police of their need to be professional, which is what the IGs, successive IGs have always said, have we positioned them for that?
Well, you know, you guys have said a lot about that because we just can't thrash this topic enough. It's just to maybe like scratch the surface, as it were, because clearly, look, he says that he promises to invest in infrastructure to reposition the force for greater efficiency. Well, it's just a couple of months. less than a year before the tenure is over. And, you know, you'd have thought, okay, to what extent is that going to happen? If you look at what has been done previously, what kind of result has it gotten us? Did we properly identify the challenges that are there for the police? I mean, I could almost say everybody knows what the challenge is for the police. If you speak with retired police officers, many of them tell you, look, don't even go there, because there's so many challenges about operationalizing, let alone placing premium on professionalism. I mean, you know, you hear lawyers tell you, you can't put something on nothing. So how do you place premium on professionalism if we don't have the fundamental basis right? You ask questions about the Police Act, and you'd have thought that that will address the fundamental problems that exist within the police about owning that force, people being able to relate. Because right now, it comes across as though, in fact, if many say that is exactly what it is, that the police is just there for the top class. And for the other people down there, they brutalize them on a regular basis, even as we speak. And so they don't see those on the front lines as their friend, as the slogan goes. So there's just a lot to say about the police. Well,
it's a lot. It's a lot, Chamberlain. It's a lot. And then, do we even want to go to the Department of Numbers?
I mean, I was saying the other day, go report a case. Go to the police station and report a case. And you hear the kind of things they'll tell you. You'll be the one to fund the vehicles. You'll be the one to
pay
fuel
for investigation.
The
Wait a minute. Does that still happen?
You pay for investigation. Oh, yeah, it does. You pay for so many things. You will do a lot of that. I have been to a lot of those cases. I have matters pending there, and that is what I have experienced. So I speak from a point of experience. It's experiential knowledge right now. So not hearsay or third-party information. That is what happens. And it's not just the police. Other key investigative agencies associated with the police, that is what happens. If they investigate a fraud case for you, they take a percentage. That's what happens.
That's what happens.
So that's what it is. Because they say, look, how do you want us to go about funding your case? How do we do this if we don't do some of these things? And you wonder, wow.
So how then will the president tackle this professionalism? Because these issues you raise don't sound like professional issues.
It's simple. Walk the talk. You know, he made reference to something very key just moments ago about how the police, within the force, they look forward to lucrative postings, you know, being posted to
wait a minute.
politically exposed persons. They are lucrative postings, you know, politically exposed persons. What's the ratio of a policeman to the number of Nigerians that require protection?
It's a far cry.
It's a far cry.
We're not even close. But there you go. So we'll come back and take a look at some of the dailies for you. You'll also see the police's function in some of those papers, I can tell you for that one. Let's take you through some of the dailies. We've got Vanguard for a start here. PDP, how Okowa upstaged Wike to clinch VP slot. So, there you go. Why I chose Okowa as my running mate, Atiku. Atiku has answers to Nigeria's challenges. Wike won't be disappointed. Okowa's acceptance is betrayal of trust. Ayo Adebanjo. He represents Southeast, South-South in Atiku's presidency. Obodo. Okowa's choice, divine. Obaseki. Pandef. Agare Ovodo. Others. PDP's journey back to Aso Rock has started. Secondus. So politicians will give you their sound bites, yeah, as expected anyway. Don't expect anything less, so that's what it is. But that's a big lead on the front page here with all of the riders and the images associated with that as well, right there. So, and then, whoa, there's so many things here actually. But system collapse. Consumers remain in darkness as power is at 3,353.8 megawatts low. Wow. Wow. Look, I don't even know what adjective or what to say, where to start.
Don't even bother.
Because almost everything you say, it's like,
don't even bother.
Is it no hope or what? How many times has this grid collapsed? Why does it keep collapsing? So, can they fix it?
Who are the people?
But these chaps are still manning the offices if they can't deliver. Why do they still sit tight if they can't deliver? I don't understand this mindset.
Consumers will still have to pay for electricity
By
at the end of the month.
They don't even act as if they're answerable to consumers because they don't even address you. They don't tell you anything. They make it look as if they're doing you a favor. Yet you but the one coughing out the funds. Wow. Just wow.
And you know, I said this at some other forum. You know, we only know of urban Nigeria.
You've been going to other forum?
Yeah. Yes, there are other forums, such as my home, among my friends. Those are other fora.
Okay.
We only know urban Nigeria, the power situation. How about the rural areas? I spoke with an individual who said in Ibadan they haven't had light in 6 months.
The entire Ibadan, let's be accurate now.
Oh, really?
I'm asking.
I don't know. I don't live in Ibadan. But another friend went to Ondo, said that the people were protesting months on the streets of power outage in Ondo, major highway. So there's that. And then what's happening to this rural electrification project of the federal government? I understand that there are some communities that have lights 24/7 while the major, areas do not have. I don't know. It's a major issue.
And it's having an impact in many sectors of the economy. Even banks are beginning to reduce the hours of operations, because of the cost of energy. Add a lack of power supply to that one. Where does it leave us?
But the politicians have come again. They're going to come to people with lots of promises. And, do we say little delivery from some of these headlines you see everywhere? That's Vanguard today, anyways.
Chamberlain, it's a Friday. What did Mr. and Mrs.
And I
do
recall sometime in 2014.
Mr. and Mrs.?
Yes.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, Mrs. telling Mr. I won't be long, dear. I like being with you always because of my love for you. It's total. And Mr. says, you bankers like expressing yourself with banking jargons. If your love is total, mine is balanced. So check the balance.
Oh, God.
Maybe.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a good one for a Friday.
Well, talking about totals, on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, you have a total of 12 reasons, yes, why Atiku picked Okowa as running mate. That's what you have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Party presented 3 names for consideration, says Ayu. Obaseki Bala Udom witness presentation. Wike won't be disappointed, described to Okowa. Find the details of that on page 2. And we're talking about police the other time. Right under the picture, Ekiti poll. Please withdraw orderlies of VIPs. Warn thugs. Deploy 17,000 personnel. Stories on page 8. INEC sends sensitive materials to 16 local government areas. The story is right there, right above the nameplate. Or massacre reps to revisit state police.
Reps?
Yeah, stories on page 28.
Oh, please.
Well, they're going to revisit it.
They had a lot of chance to revisit it. They never did. So now they want to tell us they'll revisit it.
The question then is that going to be another bout of constitutional
Until we see it.
Okay.
Until we see it done.
All
we
right.
have a lot of patience on Sunrise Daily.
Nigerian Tribune, on the back page, I will come back with £500 million fight, Joshua. That's ascribed to Fury.
Ooh.
£500 million. My head, I'm trying to calculate it. I can't. That's the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
And from the Nigerian Tribune, let's flip to The Guardian. And the lead story is also about politics this morning. It says, why I chose Okowa over Wike despite party's nod. And the writers have quite a lot to say. Okowa Atiku answers to Nigeria's challenges. Wike won't be disappointed. I wonder how accurate that is.
Hey,
Atiku had
you're not a politician.
Atiku had final say. IU clarifies. Well, we don't know if the NWC of the PDP agrees with that one, but we'll be having quite a lot to say later on the program where that is concerned. Secondus congratulates Atiku-Okowa. Okowa betrayed Asaba Accord of Southern Governors. Ohaneze Ndigbo, Afebwa, react. That's the big story, and there's another sub-big story, if there's anything like that, that will catch your fancy on the front page of The Guardian. It says, 23 years of democracy, economy buckles under political risks, official graft. It's a page 4 and 5 read, and I'll quickly like to show you some of the riders. I'll read them rather, because you will not be able to see them on your screen. It says, ICT financial services show resilience. Banks profiting from economic ruins. Economies call for policy shift, private sector support. So you would think that, many sectors of the economy are struggling, but this investigation says banks profiting from economic ruins. It would interest you to know what exactly is causing the banks to profit. Page 4 and 5 read from The Guardian newspapers this morning. That's it from The Guardian. I believe Malkwe is available to take the next paper now. Good morning, Malkwe.
Good morning, Bukola. Good morning, Nigerians. It's a rainy, wet day here in the nation's capital. What a beautiful day, nonetheless. Let's take a look at what Daily Trust has for you on its front page. How Okowa emerged as Atiku's running mate. Yes, it's the same story that you've heard so far on almost all of the dailies. Okowa emerging as the running mate to the candidate of the People's Democratic Party. PDP founding fathers not comfortable with Rivers governor. That is a quote. You might want to know who that statement is attributed to by flipping to page 4, who the PDP founding fathers are who are not comfortable with the Rivers governor. Picking Delta governor, a difficult decision. That's from PDP's candidate. Wike Ugwuanyi, others absent at unveiling. To meet deadline, APC nominates Masari as dummy running mate. So that is on page 4 of the paper. So is this the VP for the VP slot for the candidacy of the APC? You might want to flip to page 4 of the paper. Because today is the deadline. Today is the deadline where they have to submit the names of their running mates. So maybe APC is struggling with that. They're still struggling with that. And I don't know whether this is for Katsina or this is for the presidential elections. You might want to flip to page 4 to get that clarity. But look at this. 600 killed, over 2,000 injured in Kaduna-Kano road crashes in 6 months. That's something we certainly should be worried about. Road safety. Page 7 will give you details. You have a number of other stories at the bottom. But look at this. Commotion at APC headquarters as protesters threaten Adamu. Page 25 will fill you in. Queues. Federal government raises petroleum transporters rate above 25 naira per kilometer. So page 18. I don't know why Burna Boy's song about kilometer is coming to my head, but page 18 will give you details. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust newspapers before I get into some mischief this morning.
Only you can tell us that, because it's not in our own heads.
Well, you can just go ahead and sing the song.
Well, take a look at the leadership first before he sings the song. The lead story on the front page of leadership here is about the running mates. That's the theme. And they have something similar to some of the other dailies, but a different perspective with leadership. There we have it, guys. At last, Tinubu zeroes in on Northeast as Atiku picks Okowa. That is Leadership newspaper. Okay, if you don't have that, we might as well just go ahead and take the very next one. So let's try it with Daily Times then, if we have that. Your inability to secure lives, properties, and invitation to anarchy. Akeredolu warns FG. We don't have that too? Okay, I don't know what we have anymore, guys. Okay, maybe you should give it a shot.
Okay.
You might be lucky.
Well, the papers are there, though, so, but okay. Let's see if we can pick up on Nigerian News Direct this morning. That's what you have on the front page of the paper.
Do we have that too?
2023 presidency, mixed reactions trail Okowa's selection as Atiku's VP. That story is right there.
We don't seem to have it too.
Vows to vote against PDP. Okay, well, that's interesting. Well, that's there on the front page. Maybe if we can we throw on the screen any of the papers that we have, at least, we can move on from there, because there are quite a number of interesting things to say while, all of that is going on. The Daily Independent, for instance, because we have that one as well on its front page. And it's actually from the story that we took earlier in our opening sequence, where the president said, we've made impact on security, economy, corruption.
All right, well, since nothing seems to be coming up, that wraps it up with a look at some of the dailies here today. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
It's another decision-making day at the National Secretariat of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, as the 2023 presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku-Okowa is set to present his running mate to the leadership of the party. However, before he does that, the national chairman of the party makes some clarifications regarding the processes that culminated in the submission of 3 prospective running mates for the presidential candidate.
The committee recommended 3 names to us, and we transmitted those 3 names to the candidates. Contrary to all the speculations in the social media, the National Working Committee or the party didn't select one name for the candidate.
It's time for the PDP presidential candidate to unveil his running mate to the party, and Alhaji Atiku-Okowa mounts the podium, listing the qualification he considered before coming to a decision on his running mate.
In arriving at the decision, I held wild consultations with various stakeholders in our party. In these consultations, I made clear that my running mate would have the potential to succeed me at a moment's notice. That is a president in waiting.
Mr. Abubakar then proceeds to announce his running mate.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the ticket the next Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Governor Ifeanyi Arthur Okowa.
In his acceptance remarks, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State pledges loyalty to the cause of the party to win the 2023 presidential election.
There is no doubt that there is a great work ahead of each and every one of us. The build-back process is going to be collective. And we are trusting that all our party members will want to be part of that story at the end of the day.
Having selected a presidential running mate, the People's Democratic Party, its presidential candidate, and the running mate now have the onerous task of uniting and mobilizing all their resources for the general elections in 2023.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. All of the intrigues, the backstory, if you will, of what may have transpired, to the extent that they tell us what we hear now, even though you hear the national chairman saying contrary to some of what you may have read or heard from the social media. But they've done, their selection. And so now it's going to be what happens afterwards. How do they pull together and move together? Will they get the position, the top spot, win the elections? That's what this is about. That's what they want to do. I guess we'll see.
It's a lot of work, It's a lot of work. Well, PDP is the leading opposition party, but it's not the only opposition party. That, we need to. And so there are 16 other parties outside, other than APC and PDP. That fact needs to be established. But today we are talking about the PDP. So let's go to Abuja. Okay.
Well, thank you, Ayo. Indeed, as I did say earlier, today is the deadline for parties to submit the names of their running mates to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Yes, indeed, there is still a substitution period in which names of candidates can be switched, etc. But today was the day that INEC set for political parties to submit the names of their running mates. And we've seen the headache amongst the two major front runners in terms of the challenge they've had to face in picking a running mate. Yesterday, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party unveiled his, and it was the governor, or it is the governor of Delta State, Dr. Atiku-Okowa. Well, we have with us this morning someone to help shed a little more light on perhaps how he emerged and what chances, what this brings to the table, because oftentimes when there's this conversation, it's about what the running mates are going to be adding to the ticket of the candidate of the party. Mr. Kasim Afuegwa is a former spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me just confirm. Are you still with the PDP?
Yeah, up to this moment, yes.
Up to this moment. Okay, great. So yesterday must have been exciting for you because finally it was seen that after how many tussles and how many, back and forth, who is it going to be? Eventually, the party was able to reach a decision that was pleasing, or maybe the candidate himself too was able to come to a conclusion because he was the one who did the unveiling. But can you give us a little insight into how it works? Because some people have said, oh, no, it's not the job of the party. It is the candidate who should pick who he is comfortable to work with in this situation. Is that correct?
Well, thank you very much, Malkwe. I think it's about time for us to begin to respect the institution of political parties in taking decisions. That's why it is called party. And that's why you have your internal rules and regulations that guide every process. The PDP has a constitution, and precedent to this political era, this electoral process, they came up with a guideline. And part of the provisions or details of those guidelines is that the party will be the one that will choose a running mate for the candidate of the party. There has to be a synergy between the party and the candidate. These are contained in the guidelines that guided all these processes of primaries, choice of candidate, and VP, and all of that. Now, the party in its wisdom set up a panel, I think about 19-member panel. They took representatives from the Governors Forum. They took representatives from the National Assembly, Board of Trustees, NEC, and National Working Committee. And after all deliberations, they put the issue into vote. And Governor of Rivers State, Wike, got 16 votes. Governor of Delta got 3 votes. They're among the names that were presented to them. Now, they didn't stop there. They also formally wrote and gave the recommendation of that report to the candidate. But the national chairman of the party has a different motive. And I can tell you that he single-handedly, endorsed issue of Okowa emerging, because it's like a minority candidate becoming the majority.
When you say he single-handedly, some people will say that's far-reaching, because it would seem that maybe that was what was going around, and he had to clarify. If you listen to the report, the meeting which held yesterday, during which there was an announcement of the candidate's running mate, he said that the party did not pick any candidate. That what the party did was narrow it down to 3 people. We can play the track, just the track of the, national chairman for you.
I heard him.
And he said the party picked 3 candidates, narrowed it down to 3 candidates, and that the candidate eventually reached his decision. And you can hear it was saying that the candidate wasn't disputing that. He listed the attributes he was looking for, and he picked his running mate.
I've said it from day one.
Yes.
That Dr. Yochayu is working from answer to question, and is working in cahoots with the candidate of the party. Don't forget that after the convention, when he visited Tambuwa at home, he said he's the hero of the convention. A chairman that should be fair to all participants shouldn't be uttering such kind of words. He's already shown his biases. That's one. Secondly, IU cannot come out now and be telling us stories when we are part and parcel of the opposition. We know what is happening in PDP. I'm not an outsider. I'm an insider in PDP. It's very wrong for him to say that. He and the candidate met to take this decision. I'm telling you, even as we speak now, there are a lot of anger going on. There are a lot of people who are not satisfied because it's like his own singular decision has torpedoed that of the collective decision taken by members who were drawn from different strata of the party's organ. And to that extent, it is already, even today, this morning, I've gotten about 3-4 calls of people who are saying that IU has a window between now and today, the 12 midnight, to reverse that decision, or something else will begin to happen in the party. And these are high-placed people who were part and parcel of that particular process. Because you can't set up a committee. You put a chairman, you put a secretary and all of that. So you come out with a decision. Then you, as a chairman, you'd feel that you want to change that decision on your own in cahoot with the candidate. It's not done that way. But of course, we all know that IU has sentiments for the candidate, the chairman of the party. But your decision cannot torpedo or override the collective decision of the party. When you say party, it means that it's a collection of people who sit to take decisions. But this was not the case.
I'm just curious. I asked you a question in terms of the comfortability, whether or not it is not the prerogative of the candidate to select his own running mate. No. From what we have seen in the past, and I think that even that came to play in the APC, whose running mate nomination we're still waiting to hear. We're staying in front of Daily Trust this morning. They're saying something about APC nominating Masari as dummy running mate, maybe just to meet the deadline. But we from the past, and even what the current candidate of the APC, listed, in terms of how the running mate for President Muhammadu Buhari emerged, he was asked to bring 3 names. I mean, he was asked to bring a couple of names, and it was the candidate himself who chose who he was comfortable with, who chose a name to finally work with.
You're talking about the APC in 2015?
Yes.
That wasn't the case. Yeah, those are narratives of people who want to, bite the finger that fed them. That's the truth. I was part and parcel of the APC in 2015. I was a commissioner in Edo State then. You see, the Tinubu group had entered into an agreement with President Muhammadu Buhari that if we deliver you in the convention, promise us that you will give us the opportunity to choose a running mate. Simple. It was written in a letter, documented. So anybody who will tell you another story is because I personally pushed for Adam Soshomole to be the VP, and I know how the kind of persons I met, the kind of consultations I did with quite a number of stakeholders in APC.
But
so when people now come...
The point I'm trying to make here...
I'm coming to
yes.
that. You see, the point is, a candidate of a party cannot single-handedly choose his running mate.
Indeed.
You see what's happening in APC now. You said you have just submitted a dummy, candidate, because the candidate has to consult with the party and other stakeholders. You see, when you say party, it means that there's a collection of people who your own singular wisdom cannot supersede that of the wisdom of the collective.
So given, and we heard the candidate saying that he consulted widely. In fact, this story dominated the headlines for a very long time. The race is between Okowa and Wike. Oh, it's Okowa, Udom, and Wike. All of that, anxiety. And eventually it would seem that That's what the national chairman confirmed, that they eventually had to give him the names, and he picked who he could work with.
You see, Mark, I am not used to, genuflecting when it comes to speaking the truth. Because it may be unpopular to a lot of people. It may be unpopular, they might not like my guts. But please, I will always tell you the way it is. I'm not in any way enamored by the candidature of Atiku-Okowa ab initio, because you know my position with respect to Southern presidency. And so, if the opinion of the APC governors from the north supports that my assertion, yes, that's cheering news to me. But haven't come this far, and I've just told you the process. The committee was set up, and this was the outcome. Now, why are they trying to twist the narrative midstream just to please the sole decision they've taken, when in their heart of hearts, they know that presently as we speak, that the party is boiling. A lot of leaders of the party are not happy. They're not comfortable with this choice. It may be, you can say, I'm not personally against Okowa as an individual. He has the credibility, he has the stature and all of that. But I can tell you that I am happy that he's been picked because it is a weaker route. Because I'll prefer an Atiku-Abubakar to lose this 2023 election. I'm praying fervently for that.
Why?
Why? I have just given you reasons.
That's certainly not how party people...
No. I'm not.
Because I asked you about whether or not you were still a member of the PDP.
I am still a member. As of this morning, I'm still a member. I'm very much still a member as of this morning. I can take another decision depending. But what I'm telling you, and I've said it categorically before, even on your channel's program, that in the event that another candidate
I will not let you repeat what you've said before.
Okay.
I'm going to take this conversation to Lagos. Gentlemen and lady.
Mr. Fegba, so when you say the party is not happy, or members or some of the members of the party are not happy with this decision, and they had taken the decision which this announcement has truncated. So was it that they didn't know that this was likely going to happen, or they were just waiting up until this decision happens before they decide what to do next?
No, I'm just telling you that there was a committee that was set up, and that committee came up with a report, and the report favored the Rivers governor. It's in the public domain among party members, so it's not a thing that is hidden. Then, overnight, that particular report, was overtaken by one or two persons, and before we say Jack Robinson, you saw what happened yesterday, unveiling of another minority candidate, so to speak. So it is not that they had planned before. It is as a result of the outcome of yesterday. That was why you see a lot of the party members, in terms of members of the National Working Committee, are not there. Governors were not present, and quite a number of other, top, members of the party were also not present, because they didn't expect that to happen, because there was a report of a committee set up. But when they will come on TV now and tell you that, oh, the report is this, they twisted it, they did it, they did that. That was what they did on the issue of zoning. There was a report that was set up, they said they won't unveil it until a certain time. When they will unveil it, they said, oh, it is too late for us to stop everybody now because we started selling forms. So they always work from, answer to question and all of that. And this is what takes away a lot of credibility from the processes of even recruiting leadership for the country. If you are planting injustices and you want to reap justice, I am of the view, a very strong view for that matter, that it won't work.
Well, Mr. Fegwa, going by all the revelations that you have given now, one is wondering what, in your opinion, the consequences of this action are if a sizable number of people within the party, as you have said, are not as pleased with this decision. There are questions as to where is it coming from and what could be the likely consequences. For instance, do you foresee a chance of people deflecting from the PDP to whatever other party because of what you call an injustice? Or what are the likely consequences that you see?
Well, the consequences will naturally come in different form. There will be definitely, I can assure you that there will be internal sabotage. And that is the most, terrible of all consequences. When you think somebody is with you, but inside him is not with you. And it's very common in politics. It's very common in political parties. So when you don't fulfill, you don't drive aspirations on the basis of justice, and you just feel that, oh, because you are the chairman of the party, you want to take decisions and all of that, or you are the candidate of the party, then they will leave you, say, go and do the candidate, let us watch you. We'll sit back and watch. And we'll watch how you feel in the process. Because there's nothing like collectivism in politics. There's nothing like reaching out, constructive engagement, collective bargaining, and all of that in taking decisions on the party. But the moment a candidate is becoming overbearing or overarching in terms of decision-making, then it becomes a problem. So people can sit back and all of that. Some of us who are very vocal will not sit back. We'll voice out our sentiments. We'll tell the public what obtains. And if they like, they can take any action against us. I don't give a damn.
But, you know, for a long time, between 2015 and now, maybe about 4 years ago, you know, there was serious internal wrangling within the PDP. And there are those who acclaim that Governor Wike was one of those strong personalities who helped to bring everything together. Do you see a reaction coming from Governor Wike as a result of this thing that you're alleging?
Well, first of all, I'm not a spokesman for Governor Wike. The man is very articulate enough to speak on issues. But you must give it to him that he's one person who has consistently remained in the party from 1998 to date. He has fought, you know, very strongly for the sustenance of the party. He has also, you know, invested. He has shown commitment. He has shown tact and support for every leadership of the party. But it does seem to me that the present chairman of the party is scared of Wike because they feel he will always speak truth to power. He will always speak his mind. People who don't pretend in politics, they are often lonely men. The people don't want to relate with them as such because they will tell you the truth to your face. But they like those who will massage their ego, who will speak high, you know, sweet-sounding words just to massage their ego. They will, he's a good man. When somebody stabs you, oh, it's politics. Somebody betrays you, oh, it's politics. Politics must be played with some level of decency, with some level of diplomacy, with some level of credibility and transparency, so that the leadership recruitment process can also guarantee something that is good for the entire country. But when you see people, you know, running in circles and want to make a difference, it won't lead to anywhere. Political parties are very important because that is the platform where you recruit leadership for the country. And the way and manner you conduct your business in the political party should also reflect the quality, you know, of the person who is going to come and how he's going to perform. If at the beginning now you are jettisoning the decision of a panel report, which you set up on your own without any encumbrances, you are already jettisoning it, then chances are that in the larger picture of the country, you are going to be jettisoning a lot of decisions that could perhaps have overwhelming impact on the well-being of the people. So for me, Wike will take his own action, but I, Kasim Afigbo, am an independent-minded person. I will take my action based on what appeals to me.
So, Mr. Fegwa, I'm glad you talked about decency, you know, but sometimes as much as decency is found in politics, there's also betrayal. I refer to the statement attributed to you about the candidate who has emerged as running mate having betrayed the South-South Accord of Southern governors that the running mate should, well, the presidency, the presidential candidate should come from the South, you know, by giving the support of his state to the candidate that has now emerged. But really, aren't all politicians sinners now? Because the candidate that has emerged himself also betrayed the party, according to Governor Wike himself, which he told Oyo delegates when he and other governors left the party in 2015. So wouldn't it be a double standard by judging the Delta governor with the same you know, criticism that can go back to the presidential candidate of the party?
Well, thank you very much. You see, if you have been following my trajectory since this narrative began, you remember clearly that I've said it repeatedly, that The candidate himself defected from this, from the PDP, went to APC, helped APC to defeat PDP, and when he couldn't find his way, he ran back to PDP, and he was given opportunity in 2019 because the PDP appears to be an organic party that just want to accommodate everybody and all of that. Then in 2023, again, I am one person, and I'm still against him. I have been criticizing, I have been speaking my mind out, and all of that. So I am not using half measures to treat one against the other. On Okowa, Dr. Ifeanyi Atiku-Okowa, governor of Delta State, was the one who hosted the Asaba Declaration, where 17 governors of the southern Nigeria met and took a decision that presidency should come to the south. Now, in the course of all of this, taking into account that the governors are from two dominant parties, APC and PDP, we have 8 parties in the south and 8 governors in the south from PDP and 5 in the north. So those 8 of them in the south from PDP have also been meeting to push that narrative. But midstream, Dr. Okowa took a different turn. We know very clearly and visibly that within the PDP, he supported Atiku-Abubakar. And instead of supporting a Wike or supporting an Anyim, Pius Anyim, or some Samuel Humbua or other aspirants, he supported Atiku-Abubakar and all of that. I'm not going to complain or maybe fault his right to choose, but having hosted, a declaration where it was agreed among the southern governors that presidency should come to the south, I thought he should have worked for the success of that rather than going through the back door to work for a northern aspirant who would finally emerge as the presidential candidate. And that is why I won't support Alhaji Atiku-Abubakar. I won't support Atiku-Okowa. I only have one vote. You can't deny me that vote. I will just use it. Whether it is effective or not, no problem. I like to hold positions that clears my conscience from conflict. I don't like double standard. I don't like hypocrisy. I don't like gerrymandering and horse trading. I'm a straightforward person. I will speak truth to power. Whether it is popular or not, I don't give a damn. I want to please my conscience, and that is how I want to be documented in history.
Okay, now that this is your position, this makes let's say questioning a little difficult now, because your bias is clear, and it certainly means that you cannot give an objective analysis as to what value the vice presidential candidate will be adding to the ticket of the presidential candidate, because you already just see that you don't even see any value that he could add in the first place.
No. You see, I'm very objective, and Okowa, having been a governor, a senator, commissioner in Delta, chairman of local government, of course he has Ghana experience, no doubt about that. But I am happy that he won't be able to garner the votes, because I don't want anything that will add value to the ticket.
Why do you think he will not be able to garner votes? I mean, in the South region, for instance, in Delta State, he is currently the governor. You know how
I hope you are aware.
You know how tough the politics of Delta State is.
Oh, thank God you
For
said
him
that.
to emerge as governor, doesn't it? I mean, and a 2-term governor at that, doesn't it show his political standing in the state?
I'm sure you are aware that even Delta PDP now is also in crisis. Mm-hmm. They may deny it in the open, but we know because of the process that threw up the governorship candidate.
Indeed.
So that on its own will affect the outcome.
There are those who say that, there's a whole 8 months. That the
to
time,
mend fences.
Yes, to mend fences. There's a whole 8 months between now and when the elections will happen. And we don't even know what would happen with you. You have your biases today. Who knows what fence mending might go on behind the scenes. And tomorrow you'll have a different song.
No way.
I mean, it is. Some people will say it is expected. And there are those who will feel aggrieved. And I think that in the message of the vice presidential candidate yesterday, he did say that he doesn't think the governor of River State should be disappointed. I mean, if it's a game of politics and somebody had to emerge, the chances are high, just a moment, the chances are high that there are those who will win and there are those who will lose. And he already said he doesn't think the River State governor will be disappointed.
You see, Mark, this is where I differ. I also know, when you see glaring abuse of processes and all of that, Then later you come, turn around, you say you want to go and appease the people. You want to appease the people. It's politics. Betrayal, politics. You start by the back, politics. For God's sake, can't we play politics of decency? Can't we play politics of due process? You're talking about a larger Nigeria, and the recruitment process starts from the political party. And ab initio, your processes are faulty. What guarantee do we have that the product of that faulty process will be good for the collective aspirations of all Nigerians?
There's
That's
never,
the issue.
There's
the
never
point
any
is this.
guarantee.
No. The point is this. I've just told you. The party has a guideline. The party has a constitution. Even the constitution provides in Article 7 that there should be zoning. They discarded it, no problem. Thank God nobody went to court to challenge that.
No, they didn't discard it. What they said was that there was a different argument. There was a different perspective.
Yeah.
The current candidate of the PDP argued that, yes, there is zoning, but that if zoning were to apply, it will be that the last person whom the party produced as president was from the south of the country. And as such, the next slot should go to somebody from the north of the country.
Well,
that was his argument.
Was the candidate not the candidate of the party in 2019? So if he fails in 2023, 2027, he will contest again because the last occupant of the office is in 2015. That's what they are saying. Please, for God's sake, when they are trying to be clever by half, it is our duty.
It's an argument.
No, it's not an argument. It's clever. It's trying to be clever by half. It's our duty to point their flaws to them. The point is, the candidate in 2019, there was no aspirant from the southern part of Nigeria on account of that point you just raised. They allow everything to be a northern project. And they contested, and he emerged in Port Harcourt. No argument. Everybody supported and all of that. In 2023, shouldn't be the turn of the south to do that same process so that they can represent. Okay? Now, as we speak, the chairman of the party is from the north. The chairman of the board of trustees is from the north. The candidate of the party is from the north. Yet, PDP has 5 governors in the north, 8 in the south. What are you talking about? How do you rally the votes? If you don't please the southern people, how do you get the votes? That's the point. So it is convenient for them to raise all of these arguments to try to justify why they have taken that position of jettisoning the provision. I'm also telling you that in the guideline of the party precedent to this electoral process, there are provisions on how to even choose a VP.
Okay, so, I mean, let's give it to you. I mean, if you say that I'm not a member of the PDP, I do not know the internal workings of the PDP, you have made your own arguments. But, I mean, for those who are looking, for the electorate who will be looking at the, who will be looking at development within your party and now the emergence of the vice presidential candidate. For a number of people, you've talked about his merit. He's a medical doctor by training. He was a senator in the National Assembly for a couple of years. And
I've mentioned all of that.
Indeed, current governor of Delta State. And some people might think that he might have an experience in terms of, I mean, because Delta, we know, is a mini Nigeria in terms of the ethnic groups that it has within it. And if he has been able to manage that, such that we have not been able to hear Delta State is no stranger to communal clashes, and that has been on the down low. On the low side. Yes, for a very long time now. And for 8 years, he's done that without any skirmish. Don't you think that there really is some value that he's bringing on board in being able to manage a country as diverse as Nigeria?
Well, by virtue of the constitutional qualification of anybody who wants to contest election, whether governor, Okowa has all of that. So eloquently, so solidly, medical doctor, first-class brain, and all of that. But we're talking about how to rally around the country to garner votes. And that's why I'm telling you that I'm happy for his choice. Do
you think that also, I mean, because I know that the party also must be sensitive to the fact that the Southeast, has been left out of this
whole equation.
Yes, and if there's any group of people that should feel aggrieved, it should be people specifically
from the
Southeast.
Yeah, that's true.
But quite a number of them have accepted him. We're listening to also a former spokesperson of the current candidate, Osita Chidoka, and he says he's quite happy with the choice of Atiku-Okowa as
was Osita Chidoka. Did Osita Chidoka participate in the convention? He was angry because his state, Anambra, has been in turmoil. So what is it? Why will he not be happy by his friends? You see, people, all of those ones are not. I don't want to quarrel
No, my
with his
point is there are people who are happy,
You see,
and he's from the Southeast.
Ohaneze
Yes.
Indigo has issued a statement to say that they will not accept that they should not come and tell them that Okowa is Igbo by extension. They've said it. I've read the statement yesterday and all of that. So there are quite a number of other groups from the Southeast. Okowa is entitled to his opinion. That's his opinion. Okowa is his friend, all well and good. He has the right to choose friends from anywhere. But I'm telling you that the sentiment that is gravitating around the party now is the sentiments of anger, because a process was set up, decisions were taken, and overnight the decisions were overtaken.
Well, we'll eventually see just how, fences are going to be mended within the party. I mean, if we were to go with the level of dissatisfaction, but when his name was announced there yesterday, it was announced to chairs. There are people who were, happy that he had
Of course, there are always supporters of bad causes and good causes. It's a given in life. It's about negative and positive currents. Both of them will ignite to produce electricity or light or whatever. But I am telling you that if you look at PDP, the gathering you saw yesterday, if they are going to unveil a governor as VP, they should naturally have at least 7, 8 governors to show support and solidarity. So this thing was just an ambush. But it's okay, let them go ahead. It suits my sentiments.
I don't know how... Let me extend this conversation to how you see the elections really playing out, because it does look like right now, if you were to ask pundits or those who are looking in the crystal ball what they see, it does look like things look pretty complicated. There is no straight-cut answer to how the elections are going to play out.
That's true.
There is a force right now. Former Governor Peter Obi, who defected to Labour Party, seems to be what people like to say, he's leading a movement. He's not leading a party. And you can see a lot of young people who are enthusiastic about his emergence as a candidate. So he's there. And this is from the Southeast that is largely aggrieved. You also have Okwankwanso, who is leading the NNPP in the northwest of the country. He is a force to reckon with in Kano. So that is also there. There are also other parties. The ADC now has a new presidential candidate. Sadly, Mr. Kingsley, I'm trying to remember his surname.
Mogalu.
Mogalu, yes, he's resigned. Yes, he's resigned from the party now, saying that there was irregularities and obscene influence of money within his party. But these are, new emergencies which we cannot discard. From where you sit, how complicated? Because we also see that the APC is yet to pick its own running mate. This question of running mate seems to have been pretty thorny, or seems to be pretty thorny in this 2023 elections.
And Obi too has also not picked his own running mate.
And today is the deadline.
That's what I'm saying. You see, it's always good. The APC, the candidate of the APC is a thoroughbred politician. So I understand that he has to embark on some wide and far-reaching consultations to arrive at those decisions. But the point is, the 2023 election, just like you said, is a complicated one. And I told someone just in another platform last week that you might not have a straight winner at the first ballot. Because
you think we might go into runoff?
Yes.
From what you can see?
Yeah, from what I can see. Because we have 8-9 months to prepare enough. But the real campaign starts in August. I think August 8th, thereabout. That means for 6 months you are going to campaign for, for votes. When you have a Kwankwaso from the Northwest, understandably he controls at least majority votes in Kano. For a huge following in, let me say Northwest zone, not just Kano. He has a huge following. And he has also spread across other parts of the country, because I've had interactions with him, and what I saw in terms of membership and followership, and all documented, I was marveled. That's one. The Peter Obi is a movement, but they are also not planning in such a way that will be able to produce votes. Now there's an election going on in Ekiti. Peter Obi is nowhere to be seen to support his candidate. That's a minus. And there are other states in the country that they don't have candidates at all. when you don't have candidates, it takes away from, the support you are expected to get. Kano State, 44 local governments, no candidate of APC, of Labour Party in all these positions. There's no, how do you want to go and campaign there? People may troop out, but on election day, people will also answer their father's name based on the sentiment they share with the political party and the candidates that are running for different positions, Senate, House of Rep, House of Assembly, and what have you. And so I expect Peter Obi to concentrate more energy in trying to get, good materials in all of these places and all that. The ADC you spoke about, Kingsley Moghalu, the man who defeated him fair and square.
Yeah, Mr.
Dumebi Kachuku,
yeah.
Defeated him fair and square. I expected Kingsley Moghalu to give him support as a young, vibrant man, very intelligent young man, and to also give him support so that whatever they can make out of that will make meaning. It mustn't be you all the time. You wanted to contest, you didn't prepare well, and somebody defeated you, now crying for over money. Nigerian politics has become heavily monetized. So whether you like it or not, you can't take it away. It's not just Nigeria. Every other place, there's money. It now depends on how you use the money. So for me, in 2023, I'm seeing a runoff. Then Kwankwaso will take some votes off the northern axis.
You don't think that there will be a collaboration anywhere?
No, there won't be any collaboration. I can tell you that for free. There won't be any collaboration. Peter Obi wouldn't want to collaborate with anybody because the youths follow him. They are very resilient, and it's like, you call it a movement. It's really a movement. And so those youths are going to stay true. If he disappoints them, then he will have paid his political, he will have buried his political aspiration for life. So for me, I think it is good for Nigeria. It is good for Nigerian democracy so that no one individual will come and grandstand over the fact that I have support here and there and all of that. Let them take bits and bits so that in the final analysis, they will be able to, collectively take certain decisions, trade-off, kind of. Oh, you are good, decide, okay, come and support me in this runoff so that we can collectively run the country. As Nigeria is now, it has to be government of national unity. Anything outside that will just be begging the issue.
Well, we have to thank you this morning for your analysis, Mr. Kasim Afigwa, former spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you once more for coming on Sunrise
It's a pleasure.
We'll take a break at this point, and we'll be back shortly to discuss the elections in Ekiti. They are happening tomorrow, and we'll be seeing just what INEC has prepared. Just stay with us.
An unusual sight at the INEC office in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital. Election observers, security operatives, very senior INEC officials and party agents are all represented. Everyone here have their eyes on the election materials as INEC dispatches them to the 16 local government areas of the state. As they sort them, the transportation begins, with security operatives closely monitoring the process. Meanwhile, election observers have their concerns about the preparations for the election, especially the technology INEC hopes to deploy.
This is a major a determinant factor that will give us an insight whether an election is going to be transparent, free, fair, and credible.
The scrutiny will not only be about the conduct of the exercise, attention will also be on security of the poll, as the police plan to deploy over 17,000 personnel ahead of Saturday. What about the mopping up of arms and ammunition in the hands of non-state actors?
There has been a program tagged mop-up operation. The mop-up operation, of course, was intended to mop up arms and ammunition in circulation so that we will not have arms and ammunition that the criminal elements can use to disrupt the peaceful conduct of the elections.
The Ekiti State Governorship Election 2022 will be the second poll to be conducted since the passage of the Electoral Act 2022, and the new inputs into the law will be put to test. Shewa Kimbale, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Well, yeah, just looking ahead of the elections in Ekiti State, there you see Mr. Festus Okoye joining us today to give some perspective on what to expect tomorrow. He's a National Commissioner with INEC. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, in terms of your preparations and what to expect, we do know that 14 days ago, thereabout, INEC did say that some 47,633 double voter registration was discovered in Ekiti, and that had been sorted. So if we could start from there, could you give us what is the latest scenario regarding registration of voters? Because even till date, some still think, look, they were not able to get their voter cards.
Well, as of today, we have a total of 988,923 voters on the voters register. This is the number that we vote during this governorship election. Out of this number, as at the 13th day of June 2022, 749,065 have collected their permanent voters cards. Now, the chairman made it very clear during the stakeholder engagements that the collection of permanent voters cards for the purposes of Ekiti governorship election was going to stop yesterday, being Thursday. This is to enable us segregate the number of PVCs collected per polling unit and per registration area and as per local government, so that accredited observers, the media, and political parties can have access to the number of persons that are eligible to vote in every polling unit and in every registration area. So we are ready for this particular election, and every PVC that has not been collected will be mopped up and then kept in self-custody pending the conclusion of the election. As you are aware, even before this present election, we devolved the registration of voters to the various registration areas. And for Ekiti State, you have a total of 177 registration areas. So we devolved the registration to all these places to enable those who have attained the age of 18 and those who have never registered before to register to vote. I want to report that the rate of collection of PVC in Ekiti State has been very high. As at the last count, over 76% of all the registered voters have collected their PVCs and are ready for this election. And the commission is also ready for this particular election.
You know that logistics, INEC had always tried to address that particular area with the election. So what is the current situation now? Because, I mean, I know they always say that all should go well, but now tell us about that.
Well, in relation to this particular election, all the sensitive materials required for the conduct of the election were flown in by the Air Force into Akure Airport on Wednesday, and they were transported to the INEC office in Ado-Ekiti under heavy security. So that was on Wednesday. And then the political parties also inspected these materials. Now, yesterday, the sensitive materials left for the 16 local government areas of Ekiti State. Domestic observers were on hand to inspect. Political parties were there, security agencies, and all other concerned Nigerians were there to see what we have done. And so the materials have already left for the various registration areas. Later tonight, they will go to the super racks and the registration area centers, from where they will be deployed at the first light on Saturday. In relation to this particular election, we don't envisage any logistic challenges. The chairman had a series of meetings with the representatives of the National Union of Road Transport Workers and with all the other agencies that are directly concerned with the movement of staff and materials. And we are confident that all will go well. We have also mopped up vehicles from the contiguous states to Ekiti. And if there's any challenge in terms of movement, we have enough vehicles to intervene and intervene decisively.
So, Okoye, permit me to take you back to the question that Chamberlain asked you about the voter register. And you said we have less than 1 million voters for this election. If that is correct, and you say that, the correct collection of PVCs have been very encouraging, I'm wondering if from, the analysis that INEC has, that's a fair enough representation of the population of the state? Or is it that there are people who have registered but they do not have their PVCs ready and consequently cannot vote, or those who have their registration slips cannot vote? I don't know if that's the total population of voters on the Ekiti list of voters, or there are some. Kindly clear that, because I'm not sure if that's an adequate representation of the voting population in Ekiti.
Well, as I pointed out, the total registered voter population for Ekiti State and the total number of those who are going to vote during this election stands at 988,923. Out of this number, as at the 13th day of June 2022, 749,065 have collected their permanent voters' cards. It is possible that as at yesterday, more people have collected their permanent voters' cards in order to exercise their democratic franchise. But this is the figure I was given as at the 13th day of June 2022. So this is a fair representation. It is true that arising from previous registrations, there are some PVCs that have not been collected. But in relation to those who registered during the first and second quarter of registration exercise, and those who registered when we devolved the registration to the 177 registration areas, the rate of collection has been very, very high. And our officers have been on ground to make sure that every person who registered and wants to collect his or her PVC is given the opportunity to do so. So that is the situation as of today.
Mr. Okoye, is there a chance that anyone who is unable to collect a PVC but has the INEC slip can vote tomorrow?
No.
So it's either the PVC or you do not vote?
Exactly.
Okay. So, well, there are other issues. I don't know if my colleagues have other issues, but, Chimilin was asking you some questions the other time about logistics and all. One of those other logistic considerations is that of security. And given all of the things that have happened over time, one is wondering what the arrangement is from INEC's perspective. We know you are not a security agency. You have to collaborate. But what are the plans that will instill confidence in the voting population?
Well, 2 weeks ago, precisely between the 29th and 2nd of June 2022, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission and other national commissioners were in Ekiti State for what we call readiness assessment. And we did visit over 5 of the local governments, and we were sure of the arrangements that were made in relation to the election. We also visited some polling units in the 3 senatorial zones, where the chairman inspected what we call mock accreditation of voters. Now, in relation to the issue of security, we have had high-level meetings with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, both at the state and national level. And just a day before yesterday, the Inspector General of Police was in Ekiti State when we had a stakeholder engagement, and then he did address the critical stakeholders and also rolled out the security arrangements that have been put in place to ensure that the voters are protected, electoral materials are protected, and the ad hoc staff we have engaged for this particular election are protected. And I want to assure you that as at the time I left Ekiti yesterday, that the atmosphere for the election was very conducive. And yes, there were a few skirmishes here and there, but we believe that if you compare it to the various, to previous elections, you can see that the atmosphere during this particular election is very conducive for people to exercise their democratic franchise. And we are confident that the security agencies have the capacity to protect every person who wants to be peaceful and every person who wants to exercise his or her democratic franchise.
And indeed, we hope that the voters have that sense of safety and will come out en masse tomorrow to vote. But Mr. Okoye, while INEC has been commended for increasing the number of polling units by about 250. There is this concern about oversized polling units, and I wonder how that is being addressed, because the report is that there are 75 polling units with 1,000 registered voters, and in other cases, 11 polling units with 2,000 registered voters. Isn't this going to elongate voting unnecessarily tomorrow? And is it possible that that can be addressed between now and tomorrow?
No, what we have done is that in any polling unit where we have more than 750 registered voters, we are going to deploy an additional beavers to those polling areas. Now, if you look at the number of polling units for this particular election, we have a total of 2,445 polling units that will be used for this election. Now, but we have deployed a total of 3,346 beavers to Ekiti State. So we are going to have redundancies in every registration area. We have also trained enough registration area technical assistants who can intervene at a very, very short notice if there's any challenge with the beavers. But from the test runs we have done and from the work we have done, we are confident that the beavers will perform optimally and that every person who is genuinely and legally registered to vote in this election will have an opportunity of exercising his right. Right, yeah.
And there's also this concern that the mock accreditation carried out by INEC is inadequate because there will be definitely some sections of the population that are not technologically savvy or not educated to that extent. And so that's another concern about, unnecessarily long voting process for those who do not understand the BVAS machine. How do you respond to this?
No, the understanding really relates to our own staff. What we have done was to increase the training meant for the staff of the commission and the ad hoc staff that are going to operate the beavers. And we have trained them, and we've trained them very, very, very well. So some of those minor challenges that we encountered with the beavers in previous elections will not be available during this present election because we gave the ad hoc staff enough training to understand the workings of the beavers and also even to understand how to troubleshoot the beavers in case of any minor challenge. And so we are confident that with the level of training we gave to the ad hoc staff, that they will operate the beavers very, very well. And so the voters don't have anything to fear. So long as you have your permanent voters card, so long as you go to the polling unit, we'll first of all use your fingerprints. If your fingerprint fails, then the presiding officer or the assistant presiding officer will now use your facial to call up your to authenticate you. And then if your face fails and your fingerprint fails, the implication is that you are engaged in identity theft and we are not going to allow you to vote.
Whoa, so will the person be handed over to the police at that point?
What we will do is to ask the person to quietly leave the polling unit. If the person does not quietly leave the polling unit, then we will do the needful.
But identity theft is a crime. If it's found out that that's what happened, shouldn't the police take over immediately from that point?
You know that on election day, the atmosphere at the various polling units can be very, very complex. And at the level of the polling unit, all the security officers that are supposed to be at the first level of the polling unit are not armed. It is at the outskirts, the second layer, that you have armed policemen. We do not want a situation where we are going to have mayhem or disruption or breakdown of law and order in any polling unit. So the first thing we need to do is to ask the person to quietly leave the polling unit, because at that point in time, we do not have the capacity to investigate what has happened. And then we need to arrest for very, very serious offenses, and we need to maintain order at the level of the polling units. I'm saying that identity theft is a crime, but at that point in time, the ad hoc staff will be engaged in making sure that everybody who attends to the polling unit gets an opportunity of voting. So we don't want any form of disruption at the level of the polling units.
I know you said that the challenges that occurred in Anambra regarding beavers, you don't expect that to repeat itself for this election in Ekiti. But there was no alternative, it turns out, because people left and went back to their homes, and they said it was widespread. So is there an alternative in the event that it happens in some areas? Because these are machines. Anything can happen.
as I pointed out, we have enough redundancies to obviate any situation that arises. If I supervised the election in Anambra, and you realize that we had 2 elections in Anambra, the first election and the supplementary election in Ihiala. In Ihiala, there were no problems with the beavers because we had identified what the challenge was and we attended to that particular challenge. And since we came back from Anambra, we have had so many off-season elections. I supervised the election in Ogojayala Federal Constituency and the one in Akpabio State Constituency in Cross River. There were no challenges. We also had the election in Just North Basa Federal Constituency and in Panshin State Constituency. There were no problems. We had the election in Akure North, Akure South, and the beavers was used. We didn't have any challenge. So we have been test running the beavers and improving on its technology. So we are confident that the beavers will perform well during this particular election.
I know the chairman identified, I mean, you spoke about vote buying being a threat in this particular election, and that in order to address that, you changed the configuration of the ballot boxes and things like that. Could you tell us what exactly is done and how are we sure that that will guarantee there will be no vote buying this time?
Well, the commission cannot, as a commission, guarantee that there won't be any vote buying in the election. But what we have done from our own perspective, from our own level, and using our own processes and procedures, is to train the ad hoc staff well on how to position the voting cubicles in such a way that the secrecy of the vote will be maintained. We have also trained them to advise the voters when they come to vote not to enter the voting compartment with any electronic gadget that can take photographs. By so doing, we believe that we can guarantee at least the secrecy of the vote, not that people will vote, snap the way they have voted and go and show somebody else. We have also had series of meetings with the ICPC, with the EFCC and other security agencies, and are going to have some of their plainclothes officers and some of the polling units to make sure that nobody comes to the principles of the polling unit to come and corrupt the process. But that is the extent to which we can go. I think that both the media, civil society groups and organizations should appeal to the political parties to allow the atmosphere at the polling units to be civil and to allow the people to exercise their franchise in a very, very democratic and secret manner without any form of inducement and without any form of threat. But I can assure you
okay,
that
Mr. Okoye, if I may come in here, I want to know, talking about the process, I would like to know what the voting process is going to be like. Is there going to be accreditation first and voting later, or it's going to be seamless as accreditation is going on, voting is also happening at the same time?
Yes, the moment a voter comes to the polling unit, the ad hoc staff who are in charge of the polling unit will first of all confirm that the person's name is on the voters register. When they confirm that the person's name is on the voters register, they will also confirm that the person has come to the voting precincts with a valid permanent voters card. And then they will use the last 6 digits of the VIN number in the permanent voters card to call up the person's data from the beavers. The data of every registered voter in each polling unit is now domiciled in the beavers, so they have to call up the data from the beavers. Then they will use the fingerprint for purposes of accreditation. If the fingerprint fails, then they will use the facials to accredit the voter. If the facial fails, the person will not be allowed to vote. But if any one of them passes, the person will be given a ballot paper and the person will go and vote.
So voting happens immediately after accreditation. From what time to what time are we expecting this vote to run for?
Well, we expect the votes to run from 8:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. But if
by 2:30, voting should be concluded?
No, not necessarily. If by 2:30 we do not have any other person on the queue, then the presiding officer will declare voting closed. But if at 2:30 we still have people on the queue, until the last person votes, the voting will still continue. As long as there's somebody in the queue, voting will continue.
Let me quickly ask this, because there had been talks about how INEC was not going to be using the CBN as its area for storage. Did that happen in this election? What alternatives were you able to find if it did?
Well, for the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections, we decided to design a different pathway as an interim measure. So for the sensitive materials meant for Ekiti, we used the Air Force to fly in the materials into Akure Airport. And then from Akure Airport, the sensitive materials were moved directly to our state office under heavy security. And this was on Wednesday. So the security agencies were guarding where the sensitive materials were up to yesterday, when the sensitive materials were now moved to the various 16 local government areas of Ekiti State, still under security, from where they will be distributed today to the various registration area centers and super ranks.
Well, Mr. Festus Okoye, we wish you and the Commission a very successful conduct of the polls in Ekiti tomorrow. And we certainly will hook up with you as matters develop in Ekiti State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've been speaking with Mr. Festus Okoye, who is a National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education at INEC. Well, let's take a break now. We'll be going to Ekiti itself to talk about what the security arrangements are when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.
Get down to Ado-Ekiti and get a feel of the mood in the place. How are people preparing? What do we expect? What do they expect themselves? Our correspondent, Dari Dowo, is there now. Good morning, Dari.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Of course, Chamberlain, right here, I'm reaching you live from Ado-Ekiti, where election is expected to hold tomorrow. People are in nice spirits. If you can see, that is what is going on in the background. Just to my left, there's a traffic light waiting, people waiting just for the traffic light to pass them. But that is not the mood around. The mood is that a lot of them are looking forward to that election, and they're also looking at the security agencies to ensure that when they go out tomorrow, they go and conduct that election. It's free, fair, and violence-free. In the background as well, you can see the market here. It's one of the main markets in Ado-Ekiti. It's expected when it's an election like this, the last-minute shopping, people are going about their business. But pretty much, let's talk about what is happening with the political parties. There's been complaints as well from some of the political players around here. Some of the parties are complaining that the police have been intimidating some of their members. Some of them we have seen as well. A politician raised a concern that one of their members was arrested in the build-up to today. It's likely a very calm situation on the street, but it's hard for you to be on the street without actually seeing a police vehicle, a policeman moving around. The police said they've deployed 17,000 men, which is a combination of the police and the military in Ekiti election. And if you stay around here, not too long, 2-3 minutes, you would see the presence of those men that have been deployed. And from our conversation from the people on the ground in Ado-Ekiti, they say they're in nice spirit and willing to go out tomorrow to vote without being intimidated. We'll be getting more updates and more feelers to expand this particular conversation in our makeshift studio where Kayode Okikiolu is standing by.
Thank you very much, Dari Dowo, our correspondent right there on the field in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, giving us all the angles, essentially, as we build up to this all-important governorship election in Ekiti state. As he said, yes, we have a guest with us here, and we're talking security as well, the arrangements for security, what to expect, how to allay the fears or perhaps the apprehension that may have come up in the minds of Ekiti people and the electorates, the officials, and the rest. We have with us here in our makeshift studio one of the most senior police officers here in Nigeria. We have with us DIG Johnson Kokumo. He's the DIG in charge of Force Criminal Criminal Investigations Department and the Supervising DIG of the Southwest Region. It's good to have you on the program, sir. I can see your uniform is different. It's not what we see usually. It's like this is saying you are battle ready.
Yes, this is what we call camouflage. It is battle ready uniform. And it is not worn the way we put on the conventional blue, black, or the black stuff.
Right. So tell us, it's been a long time coming to this election, and all eyes are on this election. It's an off-cycle election, so you understand why there'll be a lot of attention. It's not the general election where attention might be divided. So if you could just break it down for us, what kind of security should we be expecting tomorrow?
Watertight security, of course. Before now, we've had our operations order where the security management that is before the elections, security activities before the elections, during the elections, and of course post-election security activities. This we are doing to ensure the exercise is seamless. Yes, the Nigerian Police Force remains the lead agency. National security, election. We are doing this, of course, in synergy, cooperation, and understanding with other law enforcement agencies in Nigeria. We have the military, we have the civil defense, we have the immigration department, we have customs, etc. We are all actively involved in putting up what I would call a security package, managing the security situation to ensure a free, fair, credible election.
Security-wise, how tough an environment, a terrain, politically, perhaps, is this election for you in terms of prosecution? We saw some skirmishes last weekend between supporters of SDP and is it APC or PDP. We've had some pockets of attacks. So just how tricky an election is this to prosecute for you?
We are not trying we are not taking things for granted. Ekiti State, of course, is a state known for peace. And when it comes to election period, the issue is we have this unhealthy rivalry between members of different political parties. And we have developed proactive measures to ensure that we nip this in the bud. And where that is not possible, we'll make sure that those who foment trouble at any given point in time, of course, are arrested and prosecuted.
Okay, DIG, we'll come to the nitty-gritties of things in a moment, but we'll take a quick time out and we'll return to speak on the security for this Ekiti governorship election 2022. Please stay with us. So welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're still reaching you live from our makeshift studio here in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital. And we're talking election security, the all-important topic, because essentially elections rise and fall on security. We have with us DIG Johnson Kokomo, who's in charge of election security, is also DIG FCID and in charge of Southwest Region. Thank you for staying with us, DIG. So I hear 17,000 men have been deployed. Can you confirm that?
Yes, we have deployed over 17,000.
Is that just the police or police, the military, NSCDC and the rest?
That is the strength of the police for this exercise.
What about the strength of others, the military, the NSCDC? Do you have an idea how much men are on ground?
They have their men too. Of course, there is no equal representation in this exercise because considering the lead role of the police is largest in terms of numerical strength for this exercise.
And you're taking the lead?
Yes, of course.
To what extent, DIG, can you vouch for the independence of your men, as it were? Because our correspondents, they've been out there, they've been getting feelers, and there have been reports of perhaps favoritism, suppressing a certain party over another. To what extent can you vouch that your men indeed will be neutral in all of this?
Before now, we've had capacity building for our men, and part of the things we had actually instilled is neutrality in situations like this. So no officer of the Nigerian police force will be out there for the election assignment and will resort to being unnecessarily partial of trying to favor a particular political party against the other. Will remain apolitical, will remain neutral, as of course remains providing adequate security for men and for men and of course materials.
What about your men, especially the ones detailed to VIPs, politically exposed persons, politicians, and the rest? It's always a major challenge from time to time. What is a game plan this time around to ensure that, there's fairness across board?
This we have taken cognizance of, and we have withdrawn policemen that were attached in form of aides, orderlies to VIPs in order to have a seamless exercise. We do not want a situation where those attached to the VIPs are used on the field to create unnecessary mayhem, to wreak havoc. So we have withdrawn them, and in our ESES meeting, we have equally advised sister agencies to do same. So you are not going to find orderlies or aides attached to VIPs following them for the voting exercise.
So essentially they'll come as they are and there will be no influence, undue influence from the police?
Definitely, yes.
So now that we're talking about the voting process, help us understand what kind of security arrangements to expect tomorrow at the, the polling units, at the voting booths. What is the security arrangement? How much police will be detached across board at certain polling units? How far should people stay and all of that? Walk us through if you can.
On our record, we have a total of 2,445 polling booths. We have made very healthy, robust deployment to each of the polling booths, and sister agencies are equally making deployment. So the least you can find at any polling booth tomorrow is 6, the minimum. Minimum of 6, to provide adequate security for the voters and, of course, for the materials, and the INEC staff, both ad hoc and permanent staff of INEC.
I think that's a very important point to make. But during elections, there's a security angle, but there's also one major problem we face time and again, and that's vote buying. So what brief do your men have in terms of apprehending either those buying votes or those selling votes for tomorrow's election?
Vote buying remains an infraction. Vote buying remains an electoral offense enshrined in the 2022 Electoral Act as amended. So our men have our instructions to arrest and deliver for investigation and prosecution anybody found engaged in vote buying or in any form of financial inducement. This we have told them, and we have equally had the opportunity of letting the stakeholders. We had the stakeholders meeting where we have the representatives of the political parties, and the Inspector General of Police IGP Usman Alkali Baba FDC was in attendance, and this has been made abundantly clear to the stakeholders.
DIG, forgive me, this is something we hear time and again. We're going to arrest those buying votes. We will ensure that there isn't vote buying. But we realize that during the elections, these things happen. So, again, how can we be sure that this time is different?
The buyer and the seller are always in mutual agreement as to what they intend to do. We will rely heavily on information. We will rely heavily on intel. A seller of vote will not invite the police, making it known in public that he wants to sell his votes. The buyer will equally not make it known to the police that he wants to buy votes. So it's always something that is done in total secrecy. But I want to assure you and assure the good people of Ekiti State that we have our men out there who, of course, are on surveillance, gathering information as regards this. And I want to request from members of the public that if you see something, try and say something. If you have information concerning those intending to buy votes and those intending to sell votes, they should, of course, reach out to us.
I know this issue of vote buying, we rely heavily on just how much evidence that you can gather in terms of prosecution, because essentially we've seen a few arrests time and again, but in terms of prosecution, nothing much is heard. And we've heard time and again that there are possibilities of maybe having body cams, or the police have some sort of evidence gathering that can eventually be used in prosecution, because it looks like that's the tricky part. So what more are you doing? Would you have policemen with maybe body cams? Is that in the works, or what?
We have in place adequate measures to check vote buying, to check vote selling, and of course to apprehend. We have the capacity to locate them wherever they are, to effect their arrest, carry out our investigations, and process them through the judiciary.
So both buyer and seller will be apprehended?
They are both criminals. They have committed an electoral offense for which they will be processed through the courts.
Okay, I think it's important to speak about the kind of conduct you expect from voters, supporters, and all of that tomorrow, because I think it's always a gray area. So as a voter, how should I approach? What is expected of me security-wise? So perhaps as a form of education, what conduct do you expect?
Yes, we have in place adequate patrol. We are doing this, of course, in synergy with other sister security agencies. As I said, this exercise is not a one-man show. You see that we have security agencies in all the nooks and crannies of the state. This, of course, is intended to build confidence in members of the public, for them to know that there is adequate security in place for them to go about their civic responsibilities without any fear of molestation, without any fear of being attacked. And of course, at the level of the polling booth, on arrival, you perform your civic responsibility. We have gone on public enlightenment, making the voters to know that after casting their vote, you don't really need to constitute crowd at the polling booth. All you need to do immediately after casting your votes is to leave. And if there is any need for you to stay around, maybe for reason of wanting to monitor or to see what happens to your vote, you keep a reasonable distance, so that your presence will not in any way impact negatively on the voting exercise. And of course, outside that, we have also taken care of those who may want to bring in arms and ammunition from neighboring states, so that we have layers of security at the points of entry and exit in and out of Ekiti State. So we have the military, we also have other security agencies at the second layer, at the point of exit and entry.
In terms of movement, DIG, we're winding down now. The curfew, what is expected? When will movement stop? When will movement resume? What kind of movement can you make yesterday as some form of education as well? Or tomorrow, rather.
During voting,
yes,
movement is restricted. You are not expected to move from one polling booth to the other. Get to your own polling booth where you have your name, do your voting, and go back to your house.
Okay.
And it is equally expected that the movement into Ekiti State will be restricted from midnight.
Right.
So that we don't expect interstate movement any longer from midnight.
And can we be sure that your men and women are well taken care of? Just coming into the town, I saw some of them at some point, they were in buses coming off, and they were trying to get food and all of that. What's welfare? Have they been paid and all of that?
Adequate arrangements have been made for the payment of special duty election allowances, and there is no cause for worries concerning that.
Have they been paid?
Yes, of course.
They've been paid. Okay, it looks like you have a lot of job ahead of you, but I'd like to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us on election security. We've been speaking with DIG Johnson Kokumo this morning. He's in charge of the Ekiti governorship election, and we wish you the very best, DIG.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it from here, but not to worry. We have full coverage of the Ekiti governorship election. And we'll definitely still be having more from the security angle, the electoral angle, and all the other angles covered for you. So please stay with us. It's back to you in our Lagos studio.
Well, yes, indeed. We'll look forward to that coverage. But I think we should also look forward to a day where all of this restriction of movement will stop, such that election is not the biggest activity in this country. It doesn't generate economic value. Economy is tanking. You know, we need to see how we could do things differently to make sure that we don't just stop all economic activity because we want to do elections.
Well, we have to maintain.
The world has moved away from all of that. We need to keep developing and ensure that we don't stop economic activities because of that. But anyways, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. I'm Chamberlain. So,
I'm Aya Makinde. Have a wonderful day.
And I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Bye for now.
Well, I know we saw a few tweets, but hey, maybe we'll take them next week. Thank you so much for your contributions. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf. Have a great weekend.